there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you are lucky enough to be doing it too. I am Bushka on Blitz, and it gives me great pleasure to be back here with you today, pumping up the stereo, as they say in the classics. I'm today going to be having a look at a couple of games, namely a game in the PTA with my good mate Commander Buttface, and a game in the VK4502B, the Tier 9 side-scrapey mixed side-scraperson, with my very good friend Shame Equus, who's actually thankfully coming out okay from Hurricane Matthew. He's been sitting in Florida in the hotel, soaking up the culture there as the winds go wild. This is a patron-sponsored post. For those of you who don't know, Patreon is how the channel keeps going, and it's how basically I'm able to produce the amount of content I am. So if you've ever thought about sponsoring the channel, we do a lot of training room events. We do heaps of stuff in Telegram chat. We've got voice channels. We've got all kinds of things going on. Click on this link here. Otherwise, other big news, obviously, I've got the Twister Cup finals, the Asia Regional Finals on Sunday. I'll be live streaming those from 9 PM Aussie time. The link for that is on the watch page, and I'll be flying to the Big Apple, New York, to broadcast the English stream of the Twister Cup, the finals, the World Finals, which I am very, very excited about. Now, it's from very humble beginnings this channel has got to where it is now. And one of the things I always wanted to do was a podcast with my mates, and I've kicked that off. If you want to hear the podcast, go to www.bushkaonblitz.com/podcast, and there's 2 episodes up there so far with my very good mate Snake Eyes. I'm going to get all the other grump idiots involved as well, and it'll be on iTunes very soon. But until then, check it out there. Now, there's 2 games here. The first one is the PTA. I've checked forward and seen that there is an awful lot of red popping up along there. I'm going to cop one for my troubles, and then I'm going to rethink things and flank. Now, one of the reasons I love the PTA is it's a challenging tank to drive that can be excessively rewarding. If you know how to drive this tank and you can actually put it in positions to be successful, it's got one of the best guns going around. I mean, the gun is just superb, and the mobility and the DPM are both top-notch for its tier as well. But what it doesn't do very well is perform in a very confined space where the enemy know it is and are basically pre-aimed and waiting for it to come out. And that's exactly what's going on here. If you've ever driven on this map in any great detail in a medium or a light tank, hello, I don't want to talk to you, then you will find that that spot on that hill can be both a blessing and a curse. If you push up there and you start spotting targets and the enemy holds back and you're able to really help your team, that's great. But if you get people on either flank in town or on the far flank, there's a rock there that they can hide behind, you more or less get trapped, and not only can you not output DPM, you're very, very likely to take shots every time you try to get one off. So what I've done is I've pulled Commander Buttface, who is driving the E50, the other big pie-eating German tank at Tier 9 in the medium range, and we're rolling around through the Yamato, the gun carrier here. The battleship, the gun carrier. It's a bit bigger than a Churchill gun carrier. You idiot. The good thing you saw me do there was I didn't drive through the cap. I mean, most people will realise that, but if you drive through the cap on a map, they know where you are, and that's almost better than for them than actually seeing you pop on the radar. They'll turn and start looking for you to come. Now, I've dropped adrenaline because obviously we want to keep this guy permatracked, and we do that and get him stuck there, and he's the big dog that we have to take out. You can see they've got 5 TDs. That was another one of the reasons I moved around. The last thing you want is for some smart aleck to be aiming up early with HE and pumping you. It is not fun at all. Now, the 2 games are very, very different. This one is all about the finesse of the Leo and moving it around to flanks and getting shots. And you can see there I straight away put myself in a position where even if they have got shots across here, I'm behind a Jagdpanzer 100 or the carcass thereof, and they've got no chance of doing anything. You've got to be thinking like this all the time. And I'm going to run a couple of games in the near future that I had just recently in the T3485 Victory on my Bushka account, because it really shows how you've got to always be moving and positioning the tank. Don't sit still to take shots when you're not certain where everyone on the map is, and if you think you're in a position to get hit. And that's why driving a PTA is really good. I think driving a PTA made me a much better player overall, because it's like a grill or a waffle tractor or any of those tanks. If you sit still, you are very, very likely to die. People pre-aim on you. They prepare for your position, and you end up in a situation where you might get a shot off and you're immediately ravaged by high explosive on the way back. And if you don't start changing the way you play, you quite often end up dead and doing no damage. And what that does to you is it then makes you much more map aware and situationally aware. This is a really bad shot there with high explosive anti-tank into a waffle tractor, and then I missed him. I had it loaded up for a hatch shot on that Jagdpanzer E100, but obviously that didn't eventuate. And it really builds your tanking skills. It makes you much more situationally aware and much more map aware, and it makes you do things like this where you stop behind hard cover and you wait and you reset your camo, and then you go and get a shot and you duck back behind hard cover. And they're kinds of things that you don't always have to do when you say grow up driving a T29 or something along those lines. But when you start driving a Leopard PTA, you have to do those things or you basically die very early in the piece. And you can see how we've just waddled all over the battlefield here. We've driven from our spawn, forward, back, all the way around, and ended up back in our same place that we spawned at originally. And it's taken us nearly 6 minutes to complete the fight. And it just goes to show that you've got to use the whole field. You've got to use the entire playing field in a tank like this, which is exactly the opposite to what you're going to see in the next map. Now, that was nothing amazing at all. That was a first-class T-Rex game. We did a lot of spotting, 4,200 damage, 1,300 assisted. It was a good game, 5 kills. But I really like that game, and I love that play style on those kind of tanks because it's great fun to think your way through things. Not so my good mate, the VK4502B. This is another Tier X game again in a Tier 9 tank. And as such, you're always going to get good numbers in your XP returns if you do well in them. But this is very much a game that is going to take place inside about 100 square meters. There is not even that inside about 50 square meters. You're going to see the VK is a phenomenally good side scraper. Because the gun is so far at the back, you don't have to expose as much of your tank, especially you don't have to expose that lower glacis to get shots off. And the flat sides of the VK are very strong, and your upper plate on the front of the nose is absolutely tremendous. It's just brilliant. Now, this is the heavy alley. This is what I would call the one line, term the one line. And the one line, I mean, most of you know this because you've listened to me for a fair while. The one line used to be known as the one line because it was the shortest distance between the two spawns. And you drive straight down the one line in the X and Y axis grid and meet the enemy ASAP. Now, this is a one-line battle. And I'm side-scraping this thing, and you can see this is a perfect opportunity. I'm a bit worried about my turret being pointed around to the right, to the left there, because they can hit a turret even if you've got your chassis angled perfectly. And I'm going to get one in there on that M103, and he moves forward. And I blow adrenaline because I'm thinking of moving up here on this E3, and then I realise I may actually be a chance of getting past the E3 and around here and into this waffle, and then on the other side of this building to the E3 if I just push forward. So I do that. I still take one from the E3. But look at this. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to let the waffle get forward and then just start pulling backward. And you can see there that exposes a really strong upper glacis, and he gets pumped for it. And we get another one into him there. And suddenly we've gone from having the E3 on us and the waffle in front of us to having them both back in front of us. Cham comes through in the ST and manages to nut the waffle, and then we're into the E3. And now I'm going to push here really aggressively because you can see that Leopard 1 has gone down. And if we don't get rid of this E3, the same thing's going to happen again. We're going to get trapped between two big TDs, namely the Object 268 and this T110 E3. So I switched to APCR, always good. And this is such a strong tank. But we've got a Cent 7-1 and a 268 still coming. And that our waffle's now down, and we've just taken out the E3. So things are getting really tight. I'm of a mind here to just side scrape off this, but Chem gets really aggressive and starts pushing forward, and that changes things. I have to go and support him because I can't win it, you'd think, from here versus 2 of them. They just flank around and I'd end up in all kinds of trouble. But what's actually happened here is Cham's left himself in a bit of a rough spot. So much like when you saw me pushing forward with the waffle tractor, I'm going to use the really good parts of the tank, the strengths of the tank, i.e. the armor profile, and I'm going to back up towards the zone line so there's no way I end up with both these guys on different sides and flat shots for them. And then I've got the Object 268 there in front of me and the 7-1. Now the 7-1 has got the L7A1, the big gun. And the thing I like about that is I know it doesn't have heat. So he's got a maximum of 268mm of pen. Now I can easily get to 268mm of armor on my upper glacis and the rest of the tank. So as long as I can keep this 268 on my side and shielding me from the flat parts of my tank from that 7-1, I should be able to bounce a lot of shots here and actually do really well. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. The 7-1 does the right thing and face hugs me, but this is no easy pen, even for a tank with the massive pen numbers of the Object 268. And I push through here now and absolutely wreck. That's really unfortunate for that 7-1. And we just get the reload in on the 268, get one into Terrenian. He's a good bloke too. He says a good game here. And then the 7-1 is a round enemy, and we've still got that upper plate just facing him, and he's looking for shots. Can't find them because this is an incredibly tough tank. This is one of the reasons I've really come around to this tank of late, and I think it's one of the unsung gems. I did the review and found that it was just an absolute perler despite the 1-to-1 matchmaking, so it doesn't get to feast on tier 7s or anything like that anymore. So there you go. That's probably the best game I've ever had in the VK 5K. 3 kills, but certainly heaps of key bounces and side scraping going on there. As always, there's lots going on. Make sure if you have considered sponsoring the channel, you click the link because the patrons are a great bunch of people. We're really enjoying things. Blitz Stars has been kicking along. Sock Robber, who runs Blitz Stars, has just joined the patron brigade as well. And you might note now, if you look on your Blitz Stars stats, some of us have these little badges on there. The badges are fantastic. I don't know why it makes me so happy, but there's badges for everything. So check out your Blitz Stars player profiles and check out your badges and see how you're going, and maybe you can change them and do all those kind of things. Check out the podcast as well, www.bushkaonblitz.com/podcast, and stick around on Sunday night for the Asia finals, the gaming finals. It's going to be an absolute barrel of laughs. Thanks very much for all your support, guys. I'm really passionate about the game, and I'm really stoked to be part of such a great community. Look after your families and stay safe on the battlefield.